Hello and welcome back. Hey, so when we left, we were at the birthday party, and this is where shit starts to get crazy.
It gets real weird from
It
here.
gets really fucking
Real
wild.
weird.
It's the
World wild weird.
some
It's
weird
really,
wild
really
stuff.
wild.
We went right to Johnny Carson, both of us. We're old. So so this is a crazy birthday party. I mean, I've been to a couple of birthday parties with this exact same situation occurred, so it
Mhm.
was very coincidental to me as well. Caleb, what does she pull out of her birthday gift?
So she goes to open Susan's gift, which, as we all know, is um, the peacock toy that speaks.
Sure.
But she opens the box, and in it, she's thrilled to find her very own shiny new handgun,
Yeah, as
which
most 8-year-olds
she
are wont to have.
like as she opens it up though, she walks away from the group, which I thought was kind of odd. Like she wanders away quite a bit, and like she keeps seeing Jersey, our man John Houston, kind of like poking around, looking through windows and corners and stuff like that. Like he's being kind of a creeper. She keeps seeing him, so she keeps like walking around looking for him, and then she opens the box and sees the gun, and she's like, "Mommy, look what I got!" And she turns around and drops it, and it fires a perfect shot straight through the small of her mother's back,
Yeah,
paralyzing her.
I fucking weird scene, my dude. Weird scene. So,
So,
is
I
Jersey trying to
actually,
kill her?
so first of all, I actually Google searched this because I've always wondered, like you see this all the time in film and
Yeah.
TV. If a gun is dropped and it just like fires, I'm like, can that really happen? And apparently, according to ScienceABC.com, which is just the first hit that comes in the search, so don't take this at all as the definitive answer because I'm putting zero effort into this.
Sounds reputable.
Generally speaking, if your gun is kept in good condition, was made in the past decade or so, and isn't used frequently enough for wear and tear to compromise the safety mechanisms, there's almost no chance of the gun going off if you drop it. And presumably, this was a new gun at the time, and so it seems highly unlikely. While necessary for the plot to proceed in the way that it does, which is kind of weak, it seems unlikely that this would actually happen.
But
And
maybe it
so
was intended to happen.
yeah, and so we don't really know how the gun got there. In fact, there's a detective that plays a bit role that also does some weird, creepy shit, like breaking and entering into the home and taking away evidence when no one is home.
Which, by the way,
Um,
is played by Glenn Ford. We just have to
yes,
point that out. Like, this is not just anybody; it's fucking Glenn Ford.
it's
Like,
great.
yeah,
And like he can't figure out how the gift, like there's no other prints on the gun but the girls, but Katie's. The wrapping, as far as they can tell, was completely sealed and not compromised before she opened it. Like, so the gun somehow got into the box without being opened. Could this be a manifestation of someone's powers? We
ooh,
don't know because Katie supposedly is a demonic spawn of Zatin's brood, and therefore has all of these crazy powers. She uses them like 3 times, and like once is to make a basketball explode, once is to drop a fire escape on someone, and like once is to like I don't know mess with the lights.
yeah, that was.
It, like doesn't like there's not really a convincing argument for her being like this really powerful like demonic being that needs to be controlled
And
other
she
than like
sends a
she's got a real
bird.
shit attitude.
Yeah,
Like she's got a shit attitude and she has friends with a bird of prey.
yeah.
But other
I
than
mean,
that, like,
she's just a shitty kid. She's just not
yeah.
like a. She's just a bad kid. That's all there is to it.
But yeah, so it seems like it possibly plays right into the evil board of directors goals all along, because Barbara has established that she has no intention of marrying what I don't even remember his name anymore. Lance Henriksen.
Raymond. Yeah.
Raymond, thank you. She
Yep.
has no intention of being Mrs. Raymond Armstead. She's strong and independent, and also doesn't want any more children, which seems like good for you. Like, there's no reason you should have to, but like, it's not really the argument against marrying specifically. Uh, like, like
Right. I mean, she brings up the whole
he's
idea of like she got divorced like 7.5 years ago, and she was like, I just can't. It's like, it has been 7.5 years. Like,
Well, so here's the
either
thing
you
is like
want to get married or you don't.
she doesn't say like I can't get married again, I can't go through that, I don't want to be committed, I don't want to be tied down, I don't want the potential for heartbreak. She doesn't say any of those things. She says I don't want to have any more children. Which like he like mentions children not at all. Like we
Never.
learn eventually that that is part of the deeper plan, but like he never mentions it. She volunteers that as her reasoning for not wanting to marry him, which again, like she doesn't need a reason. Like she doesn't want, she doesn't have to, but like
Sure.
it's just it's an oddly forced argument for something that never comes up.
But I feel like that's one of those like arguments that are relevant of the era. I mean, because this is late 70s. So I'm sure that the whole idea of like, well, if we get married, obviously we have kids, and the assumption is, like even Katie says, like, you guys can be married, we can be a family, you can give me a baby brother,
Yeah,
like
Katie demands
Katie
a
brings it
brother.
up a lot. In fact, really fucking weird.
And nobody thinks to tell Katie like, you shut the fuck up. Like you wait till you're old enough and you have a kid.
Right. Like, yeah, like there's just no like like, in fact, nobody except for the really shitty housekeeper that comes later ever like gets to Katie's face and be like, "Hey, cut your fucking shit out. What are you doing?" Like nobody ever disciplines this child for like her murderous intent, like, and just her bad
Jane
behavior.
Jane is kind of great, and Jane is played by Shelley Winter.
Yeah.
Winters. Sorry,
Winters.
with
Yep.
an S. And there's a scene where they're having a confrontation, and Shelley Winters, Jane, slaps Katie like a couple of times,
Yeah.
and apparently that was real. Like in filming that scene, Shelley like actually slaps this girl Paige like multiple times, and like not gently,
Yeah.
and like get into that character, Shelley
I
Winters.
mean, it's Shelley Winters. You I'm sorry, if Shelley Winters wanted to slap me now, I'd be like, okay. I mean,
Um,
she's been dead for 14 years, but I still would let her do
you'd let her go slappy.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally. Like Shelley Winters, go slap me.
If anyone
Yeah.
can contact the ghost of Shelley Winters, we want to organize a slapping.
Yeah. Right. Interdimensional slapping.
So
I mean, she's been in fucking great. I mean, she was in great things. Like she was in Poseidon Adventure. She was awesome.
Jane is another one of the characters in this movie that doesn't entirely make sense, like what her role is, because she shows up as the new housekeeper sent by quote the service, which this is apparently a time when all like gig type staffing is done by a centralized agency.
Yeah.
So they have the service for the babysitters, the service, the agency, whatever for the housekeeping and whatnot. So this is all like pre gig economy, pre like Uber and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like these actual people sent to your house, which like it's a weird thought in my head. But anyway, she shows up. Announces herself after letting herself into the house,
Yeah. And wandering
uh,
around.
with her bird cage full of fake birds.
Birds.
Uh, like she announces herself as the new housekeeper, and like that's just that like that's accepted. Nobody
Yeah.
questions that.
Yeah. Well, I
And
mean,
this,
what's his name does the same thing when
yeah,
Raymond answers the door and it's Jersey and he's like, "Oh, I'm the babysitter," and he was like, "You're a 75-year-old man." All
it's like
right, come on in.
he's like they normally send us teenage girls. And he's like, "What about I don't know Becky or whatever?" He's like, "Oh, well, she couldn't make it, and that's why the service sent me."
Right.
And I'm like, well, I guess that checks out. Like, no need to look into this at all.
In no way whatsoever should I background screen this. Yeah. It was a
Well,
different
and
time.
Barbara says, no, the service really like they screen their people, really thoroughly.
Sure.
Like she just accepts that he is from the service, which like if that's true, then your theory that like he's been screened and background check and everything, okay, like I guess you put your faith in that service, but like no, like at no point does he like provide any credentialing or proof that he actually is from the babysitting service, other than the word that he gives.
Yeah. Which, also turns out that he is not from the service. In fact,
No,
he is
very much
literally
lying.
an intergalactic being bent on taking their child. So
With badass theme music.
yeah. Dun 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 dun. Brum, bum. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about we're going to talk about the detective, Glenn Ford, but I do also want to talk about her doctor, who
Yes.
eventually becomes part of it, who is a part of the scheme as well with the bad people. But
He's
does
like
anyone else,
the chairman of the board.
the chairman of the board, right? So, but the other thing about the doctor is that he's a doctor who helped her after she became paralyzed. His name is Dr. Walker, and she's paralyzed. She can't walk, and his name is Dr. Walker.
What? This is
Like
Mel
Mel
Ferrer.
Ferrer, yeah, Mel Ferrer, yeah. They'd be like, if like my cancer doctor's name was Doctor Lymphoma, I'd be like, I mean, this is a little weird, but okay.
Paging Dr. Biopsy.
Right. Right.
Dr. Chemo.
Yeah. Oh, wild. But yeah, so he plays a later role. So the detective's whole thing is, just figuring out the figuring out, like, how did this gun get into the hands of this kid? He even ends up going to like he follows Paige to school, and of course she sees it right off the bat, and tells him to fuck off, literally tells him to fuck off.
Right.
Yeah. She's like, I'll tell you, go fuck yourself.
Go
And
fuck
then
yourself. And he's
and
like,
she
I
calls
just
him a
got,
pervert or a molester, and
yeah,
tells him to go away.
doesn't phase him. He's the stern old cop to the end.
Yeah.
I love it. He's like, I just got one more question for you, and I promise I'll never ask you anymore. And like, how did the gun get there? And she's like, let me whisper it to you.
Yeah, make sure
It's
to
in
write
your
this down.
ass.
Yeah, right in your ass. Oh boy. Um,
Apparently, she struggled with using profane words at such a young age.
to
Which,
Glenn Ford. Yeah.
yeah, Paige Connor, such a sweet innocent child, forced to play such a terrible character.
And then she ended up becoming a cheerleader. And then she now owns her own luxury lash extensions place in Atlanta. That's
Well,
that's
good
Paige
for her.
Connor's bio.
You know,
Yeah.
becoming a small business owner, giving up the rough Hollywood life. I respect that.
Yeah, that's good for her. And she got a free trip to Italy as a kid, and got to and got to swear at Glenn Ford. What else could go wrong? And hang out with John Huston and Space Jesus. Um, yeah, that's pretty dope.
I
It's a
mean, I
pretty
would
dope
have done
life.
all of these things at 8 years old.
Yeah, totally. I would do that at 39 now. So at one point, so the detective after this kind of gets closer. He goes into the like house when no one's there, and the bird, like, goes to attack him, and he gets the bird outside, and he finds the peacock,
Yeah.
the I'm a pretty bird thing, buried in this like potter plant. And he was like, aha, like, here we go, like, I'm, things are starting to add up. So he calls, he's driving back to HQ, and he's like, hey, I'm on my way back, and blah blah blah. And then this is where shit starts gets weird. The bird is actually chasing him down. And the bird ends up like getting into the vehicle, and scratching his eyes out, and he veers off the road, and he crashes a bunch of things, and he flies off the road, and he goes tumbling, the car goes tumbling down a hill, and it tumbles into a fence and gets wrapped into the fence. So when the car's there, like, all these guys are like out there playing. Right. It's like the most absurd thing. So it crashes, and it's like, there's like by a baseball field, and a whole bunch of guys are like, oh shit, we got to go like help this guy. So they go running up, and they're like, oh, this fence is wrapped around the car, like, we can't get at it. And then they're like, oh no, there's fire, the tank's gonna blow. And they all start running, and the car blows up, and thus is the end of our detective.
Oh man, poor
Yeah.
detective.
Poor
Like, what a way to
detective.
go.
Yeah.
Jake Durham. And, like, he was 6 months from retirement.
he was the best in the force, and
I'm just kidding. Jake Durham would have never retired.
no.
This was the only way it was ever going to end for Jake Durham.
He died the way he lived, wrapped in a fence, caught on fire, and exploded after being attacked by a bird.
Run off the road by a fucking evil hawk. kind of want to watch a whole movie just about this hawk.
Just about this hawk, yeah, who just fucking screams the entire time, and she calls it Squeaky. That is the name of this thing, and it just fucking screams the entire time. All it does is
Oh
scream.
my god.
This bird just fucking screams. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I had to keep turning it down. I was like, I can't with this thing. So okay, so now we've got our general idea. Jersey gets in there and he's telling, Barbara, like, hey, sorry, man, I gotta take your kid. And Raymond's there and he's like, hey, we're gonna do some shit. And then, the rest of the movie is a lot of like give or take. It's a lot of like pull of like, hey, when is, like, are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? And I don't know. The movie kind of like spends a lot of time of, Raymond stepping into place and being like, hey, I'm going to take her and impregnate her. And then what's his name stepping into place, doing the, uh, being like, no, I'm here to rescue Katie and bring her to a special place or whatever. And I don't know. I still like nobody ever aside, like we have a very clear explanation of what the goal of Raymond and the board of directors goal is. They want to make more evil babies to repopulate the earth with Zatine's bloodline. We don't ever really learn what Jersey's goal is to take her away, but like also it's really weird because we see a couple incidences where um like we are led to believe that he's the one who gets the gun to kill Barbara, because we see Jersey first at the birthday party. Like she sees Jersey, then she opens the gift and it's a gun. The implication is that Jersey is the one who gave her the gun with the intention of killing Barbara. So I don't really understand Jersey's goal.
But then there's the scene later where Barbara is driving and gets kidnapped by the conglomerate, the evil men. And when she comes back, she has been impregnated once again, and it's Jersey who delivers that news to her before just like disappearing.
Right.
And
Right.
like, what is your game here, old man?
I know. What are you trying to play at, old man? Um, yeah, it's really weird. But so the way the movie plays out is, eventually, and this is the weird part, like, the board of directors is like, Raymond, you failed. And so Raymond just is like, calls her up and is like, hey, I have business in San Francisco. Bye. And then the doctor, Dr. Walker, the head of the board, steps in to basically forcibly impregnate her via a medical surgery. Um, but yeah, like it's just kind of fucking weird. And there's a lot of weird shit. And what we learned that Jane was actually sent by Jersey to like do something. I don't know. She doesn't really intervene in anything. Like she literally does nothing helpful to either Jersey or Raymond or the board of directors, like at all. Like I still don't understand what exactly her purpose was in the grand
Oh,
scheme of things.
so in the scene where we talked about where she slaps Katie, right before that, Katie's demanding to know like where her mother is, and she's like, I haven't seen her. I haven't done anything to protect her. I'm like, wait, why did that come from? And then she
Yeah.
slaps the shit out of Katie a few times, and then she's like, I know exactly what you are. I had one of you myself. And like, is she just talking about like shitty kids, or like does she know about the spawn of Zatine? Like, was she also used to further Zatine's bloodline? Like, what's her backstory? I want to know.
Right.
And then like later on, as things resolve, like there's the big confrontation scene, and like Barbara comes home and like she's wondering like what the hell's happening, and the hawk attacks her, and Jane like kills the hawk, and she's like, I'm here to protect you, and then like that's it, like she is like taken out of the picture until she tries to convince Jersey to take her home with her, and like that's it.
Yeah. But so the other weird thing about this too is that it seems like they never could really make up their mind as to who exactly is the catalyst, because the story that we're told in the beginning and later on is that it has to be a special mother, like it's a specific mother that gives birth to these type of kids. So there's specific women out there. It's not a specific man. Like it's not Raymond that goes to Barbara. It's the fact that Barbara gave birth to this child. So Barbara is the key, not not Katie's father or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's literally just Barbara. But then they're like, nobody ever does anything to stop Barbara. Like nobody just goes to Barbara and be like, "Hi, have a hysterectomy, never have kids again," or like, or get your tubes tied or whatever, because like you're gonna give birth to evil children like this. Like, just do that.
Was
The end.
that maybe what the gun was for?
Maybe, well, that was what I thought, is that he gives her the gun to stop Barbara, to like end because if Barbara dies, then he can just come scoop up the kid and just bounce off and be fine. And in the end, that's kind of like what we get the idea is that happens is Katie goes crazy. She beats the shit out of her mom, and Raymond comes in and tries to kill the mom, and then Jersey comes in and stabs Raymond with a bird, attacks with a bunch of pigeons, attacks Katie, and then takes her off to Space Jesus. So like,
Well, they first send her off to like an institution,
yeah.
and like somehow she gets out and gets home and attacks her mother again.
Oh yeah,
And
because
then that,
she takes her mom's wheelchair and drives it through like a big glass thing,
yeah,
and then she gets
and
taken away,
then
and then she comes back and beats her up and throws her down the stairs.
yeah, and then there's the birds.
And then there's the
Like,
fucking birds.
yeah.
I don't know, man. That's the movie. So
It's fucking insane, but I also kind of enjoyed it.
yeah, I mean, it's a very 70s. I mean, like, if you love 70s style, if you want to see 70s architecture at its finest, definitely check out their house, which Jane, by the way, describes as exquisite, while she's traipsing around with her birds. I also
It's
love that
mid-century as fuck.
they had like a fucking hot tub in the middle of their living room, like surrounded by glass.
Was that possibly underneath the giant 7-Up lamp?
Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah, this definitely looked like somebody took like a small strip mall or like a small like mall and just converted it to this person's house. That's exactly what it looked like. Because like everything like overhang, like there was like two levels, but the top levels were very like open and they had like railing, like you were walking, down a mall and you're looking down to the first floor of the mall, and like you'd be like, oh, there's the pretzel place and there's Baby Gap or something, which is not a store anymore. I don't know why I called that, but Gap is just not a store anymore, right?
Really?
I don't think Gaps exist anymore. I mean,
I
bear in
mean,
mind it has
retail
been like 10 months since I've been to a mall, so I don't know.
and brick and mortar retail has been dying slowly. Gap still exists. I don't know if they have actual
If they have actual
physical
stores, I don't
locations.
think they do in Syracuse anymore. I mean, I know for a fact they don't in Syracuse anymore.
Because I mean, the Gap brands also includes like Old Navy and Banana
Right.
Republic and
Banana probably. Yeah, there's like one others, I
there's
think.
like Athleta, Hill City, and Mask Shop.
There
Which
is an
what is Mask?
Athleta in the mall, in our mall here.
What is Mask Shop? Is this like, can you buy Gap masks?
Oh God.
Page won't load. Oh, yes,
Relevant.
they do have various novelty and practical face masks. So good on Gap for pivoting quickly during
Yeah,
the
right.
pandemic.
Got to do something.
Gotta do something.
So The Visitor playing on Tubi TV. Should you watch this movie? It was
I
weird.
so if you're into Italian cinema or like obscure foreign sci-fi or just like bizarre movies that like you're gonna spend entirely too long trying to figure out and never actually succeed, yes, by
Yeah,
all
totally.
means, watch that.
Yeah.
It was weird as hell. I found it enjoyable much more than I expected to. I expected this to be one of those movies where I'm like, this is just like it's just too bizarre and I can't wrap my head around it, and so fuck it. But like I want to get deeper into the lore of this story. Like I want to know more, and like
I
that's where it left me.
Yeah, I would love to know more about Space Jesus versus Zatine, because I'll be honest, Zatine being dead really really puts a monkey wrench in the whole idea of like there actually being a battle, because it kind of feels like it's over
It
ish.
does. It takes away a lot of the sense of urgency.
Right, because it's just
For
kind of like, well,
sure.
I guess we just wait around until a demon baby is born because the dude's dead, so we just gotta see what's up.
They're
Um,
just on cleanup duty, like
yeah,
intergalactic cleanup duty.
yeah, we're not hosting an intergalactic kegger. Um, so, yeah, so there's that. I don't know, man. It was kind of cool. I mean, if anything, you get to watch John Huston walk down a staircase for 20 minutes, which was like the most Monty Python thing I had ever seen in a very serious sci-fi film. It was pretty fantastic.
More Monty Python than the Jabberwocky.
Yeah. Yeah, precisely. So yeah, I don't know, man. I say give it a shot. It'll be an entertaining slightly under 2 hours, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so next episode, Christmas Twister starring Casper Van Dien. This is sure to be an absolute shit show, and I am beyond excited to see this one. I only hope we get as much joy out of this one as we did Hurricane Heist.
Oh my God, I don't know if that's possible though.
I mean, but it's Casper Van Dien, man.
Hurricane Heist was just a nonstop thrill ride of laughs.
It certainly was. So thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. You have been listening to Never Heard of It, a Night Shift Radio original. We will see you next week.